Hello and welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi and we are here at Davos at the World Economic Forum 2025 with a very, very special panel that reveals the mood of India Inc. and what CEOs in India and of course all over the world feel about business prospects and how optimistic they are about the economy in India. And for that, PricewaterhouseCoopers has just done its 28th annual Global CEO survey, and there's a complete India perspective on it. This entire data exercise is going to be led by PwC India during the panel discussion, but it's my privilege to introduce a very, very special guest, the Chief Minister of India's largest state economy, one of the most prized investment destination in India, that is Maharashtra, and Devendra Fadnavis, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Welcome here.
Thank you.
We also have with us Sanjeev Krishan, the Chairperson of PwC in India, who have done this survey. They do it every year, and it has got very, very interesting takes on the mood of India Inc. and what they feel about business going forward. We are also joined by Amitabh Chaudhry, the CEO of Axis Bank. He's just won a third term from the Reserve Bank of India to lead his bank. So great to have you here with us, Amitabh. The chairperson of one of India's largest renewable energy companies who are driving the future and setting the agenda as far as a carbon neutral growth scenario is concerned, Sumant Sinha, welcome. We also have Radha Dhir of JLL, somebody who understands the real estate market, and viewers, everyone knows something about real estate, whether it is commercial or residential. And last but not the least, a powerhouse of a company, the Wellspun Group, and the chairperson, Balkishan Goenka, again a great entrepreneurial story. So wonderful, wonderful panel here, and what we are going to do is to get Sanjeev to set the context and reveal the findings of this survey very quickly, and then we'll open up to an industry and Maharashtra Chief Minister conversation. Sanjeev, over to you.
Thank you, Siddharth, and good morning and warm welcome. Thank you, Chief Minister Fadnavis, for joining us, and all the panelists. I'll maybe in the next 2 or 3 minutes just talk about the results of the survey. So first and foremost, I think huge amount of optimism, a huge vote of confidence from Indian CEOs about 2025. Almost 87% of them are very, very positive and sanguine about India's prospects in 2025. In some ways, it was 86% last year. I would think that partially it has got to do with the fact that they believe that the global headwinds have eased. Last time, only 30% Indian CEOs thought that the global economy would do well. This time, 49% Indian CEOs think that the global economy will do well. And because they are now so integrated with the global economy, their optimism remains in spite of some near-term challenges that the economy might have seen, including inflation and so on and so forth. Another interesting fact which has come out is India remains number 5 in the global CEOs investment as a global CEOs investment destination. Now, again, we are still a little bit behind than China and Germany, apart from UK and the US, but India has retained its fifth spot. So you can look at this glass half full or half empty. One could have said that India should have got a little better, considering all the tailwinds that we have had. But India retaining its 5th spot, if I may. I would also say that one other thing which was coming out very, very, very clearly from some of the survey findings was that many Indian businesses have, over the last 3 years in particular, focused on areas like sustainability in a very significant way, and also embrace changes and shifts when it comes to their business models. And I'll sort of maybe briefly talk about some of those very quickly. So when it comes to artificial intelligence, I think a very interesting facet. I mean, it's still something that we are coming to grasp with, if I may. But what the Indian CEOs are saying, a large number of them are saying, is that they want to embed artificial intelligence in their business processes and in their technology processes. However, I must say that CEOs in China and in US believe that they have managed better productivity outcomes and better revenue outcomes from artificial intelligence. Maybe it's a bit too early, but at least that's the feedback that we have. I think trust in AI is something which Indian CEOs are still grappling with, is still getting built. Only one third of them believe that some of the outcomes can be trusted. So that's an area that maybe will come up for discussion, then we should get the panelists' view. I think the next one, which maybe I can talk about, the climate. Very interesting inputs on climate this year. And of course, after yesterday, we'll see as to how that paradigm changes, if at all. So Indian CEOs are telling us that with all the investments that they have made, 38% are saying that they experience enhanced revenues and profitability because of all the climate investments that they made. At the same time, 33% are saying that they experience enhanced costs. And that again is an interesting one. Simultaneously, 20% of the CEOs are saying that they have been inhibited. They have been inhibited by making significant climate investments. I'm not saying ESG, climate investments, because of the cost, as well as in some cases, the management teams have not been in unison. So finding a common ground on climate still remains a bit of a challenge, because I still feel that 20% is a high number from that standpoint. And this is at a time when India has made very significant investments in renewable energy, including 100% FDI allowed, etc., and the solar mission, the hydrogen mission, etc. So it's an interesting topic as to what Indian CEOs are saying about climate. Maybe the last one that I'll touch upon is the focus on reinvention. 4 in 10 Indian CEOs are saying that their businesses will not exist in the same shape and form as they currently exist. 4 in 10 CEOs are saying. So they expect that with all the disruptions around them, they will have to do their businesses a bit differently. 39% of Indian CEOs are saying that they have got into a new sector over the last 5 years. And they're also looking at new ways of delivery. They're finding new customer segments. And they're trying to figure out if there could be, for instance, disintermediation in the way they distribute their products and so on and so forth, which means that they are on the reinvention journey. And if I can just maybe close, the 5th point, which is basically a soft point, I think a lot of CEOs have said that the quality of decision making and the agility of decision making, and I think that's something I'd love to get the panel's view, is going to be extremely critical, because many of them, they've said, are at times focused on short-term outcomes, which is not healthy for the long-term prospects of their company. So maybe I'll take a pause to that.
Okay, that was a great summation. And what we will do now, I want to get first comments from Chief Minister Fadnavis and then get the industry captains here to respond. Fadnavis ji, one of the key points from the survey is that while there are various concerns and sectoral data, but 9 out of 10 CEOs are confident of India's, Bharat's economic growth. They're also planning headcount increases, and as someone who has to handle the demands for employment as well at the state level, and they're looking at continuing investments in AI. From what you heard from Sanjeev and your own participation, you've been here now for almost 2 days meeting various investors. What is the feedback and sense about India as an investment destination from all those who you have met?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I must say it's a very encouraging survey. At least the investment climate in India is concerned. So many number of CEOs saying that they feel that they will be investing more, they will be hiring more, is something like a music to my ears. And I have experienced it, because now in Davos and also back home, I've seen that huge investments are coming. There's not a single day where I don't encounter with some investor or other. And in Davos, I feel that we'll be able to sign record number of MOUs and record amount of investment. So the investment climate is very good, and I think in past 10 years we have worked a lot on EODB and CODB. So I think those things are now helping people, at least the Indian CEOs and the global CEOs as well, have enhanced their confidence in Indian economy. And the states are also competing with each other. There's a competitive federalism where the states are attracting a lot of investments. We are actually giving tailor-made incentives to the investors. So I feel that outlook for India and for my state is absolutely good.
I just want a quick follow-up. You have come back to power with a record mandate. Does that also influence investor, optimism and approach towards a state like yours? Because you spoke about competitive federalism. Various other Indian states also, viewers, are competing right here at Davos with Maharashtra also.
No, I do agree, and it does, because, stability is something at which all the investors look at. Because if there is an unstable government, if the decision making is not fast, if, there is red tapeism, then they don't tend to invest. So in Maharashtra, since people have seen our regime between 2014 and 2019, they have seen our decision making, they have seen the way we conduct our business. So I think that has really enhanced their confidence, and that is why we are experiencing huge investments in the state of Maharashtra.
Okay, I now open up to the panel. Amitabh, I'm coming to you. Maharashtra is also the state that did the first BOT project in road infrastructure almost 3 decades ago. So it set records even then. Respond to this survey and sort of put it in context for us.
So I completely agree with the Chief Minister, sir, that, when you look at India, the optimism around what India can do and achieve over the next decade, I mean, let's just project out for a decade, is pretty incredible. The optimism is very high. And if we all buy into the very simple fact that India can grow its GDP by 6 to 7%, on a sustained basis, it means that every sector of the economy not only has to contribute, but will benefit from this growth. Obviously, India has done a lot to reach this level. We are benefiting from some of the global macro variables, but some of those global macros are also can potentially hurt us. My only limited point would be that while on one side the optimism is great, the confidence is very high, there's still a lot of things which need to be sorted out. For example, since we talked about climate risk, there are a lot of a lot of cities in India which are now emerging and very clearly in the top 10 most polluted cities in the world. When we talk about the urban development, when we talk about real estate, end of the day, if some of these things remain are not solved permanently, I think it will start hurting our growth. It will start impacting the health of people generally, and it will also ultimately dampen the investment. So, laws need to be clear. There need to be, there is still tapeism which can be taken away. I think a lot of states are now also on the fiscal side giving a lot of freebies, and at the end of the day, it does hurt the investment which you can make in the development of the state itself. I mean, I think Maharashtra has planned its budget very, very well, but there are a lot of states where there seems to be almost a competition in terms of what more can be given for free. And that does worries us as entrepreneurs, as people involved in banking, as to where the money for development is going to come from.
That's a very good point. Where is the money going to come from? I'll come to the CM, but I want quick comments from the rest of the panel. Sumant, maybe you can start, and then Goenka ji, Radha. Just quick comments to get the discussion rolling.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised at one number, which is that India ranks number 5 from investment attractiveness. I would say that we would actually probably rank in the top 2 or 3 at this point. I can't imagine that Germany and the UK, for example, rank ahead of us, especially when you see their own CEOs who said that their attractiveness to invest in their own country is lower than the global attractiveness. So that's something that stood out for me. I think India probably ranks at a higher level than that. But I think all in all, the optimism in the Indian economy right now within corporate India is really very strong. Companies have delevered their balance sheets. Consumer demand is strong. Banks like Axis, for example, have improved their NPA situation very substantially. They've cleaned up their balance sheets as well. So I think everything is really primed for growth. And I think on top of that, the fact that we've had the same government for the last 10 years and will have for the next 5 years gives us a level of political stability that is not visible in the rest of the world as well. And I think that is a very underappreciated fact, because if you recall, before 10 years and more than that ago, we used to keep talking about coalition politics and this and that. Now we don't even talk about any of that. Stability in government and also now in state governments is really very critical in driving growth forward as well and enhancing
This is a very important point. Balkishan Goenka, just come in on the same point, especially from the perspective of the sectors that you operate in.
So I think first of all, I would say that India as a country had always had a potential, but in last 10 years, what difference has made is the leadership, the confidence what we see today, the overall environment. I think is a big difference. Example is Maharashtra. You see, before 5 years, Mr. Fadnavis was there, and you see the result after today. What is the mandate he's got it? This shows the whole growth. This is also example. Same way the country today, what Mr. Modi is leading, and I think the stability, what Sumant just said, is a huge thing. Another important thing what I would say is that if you see the growth of FDI, the foreign direct investment is one of the important points which shows the confidence globally. I think out of $1 trillion in last 25 years, and 67%, almost like 670 or $700 billion came in last 10 to 12 years. That's the biggest thing. I think this is going to drive the whole economy. And the last, I would say that India got a huge potential when we see, but when we need to create employment today, we need to create employment of roughly 1 million people per month. 12 million employment we have to create, and it's a huge task. But I think when we see a textile today, when we see around us Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, I mean, today Bangladesh is $35 billion of garment export, and India total export is $35 billion. So a huge potential, I think, where each of us as well as the state can play an important role.
Are you hinting that labor regulations should be sort of eased and
I
made
think
more friendly?
Apart from labor, is logistically we are really behind. Our cost compared to, if you see the Bangladesh, 8%, we are at 14%.
I'll get Fadnavis ji to respond, but let me get Radha. Radha, 11, 12 years back, we used to say this, that there were the skeletons of people's dreams. लोगों के जो aspirations थे घर की, they were all empty. There were shells all across major cities, NCR, where projects were incomplete. In the last 10 years, residential side, we have seen far more improvement. Commercial projects stuck, for example, in the state of Maharashtra, long transport projects, they have also been sorted. Is the real estate sector now fully primed for growth in India? Because it's also a great employment creator.
Absolutely. It is the second largest employment provider in the country after agriculture. And a lot of points were covered. First, of course, the political stability. I think it's a very important point for India's growth and attracting investment. And the point made on investment, last year, just in the real estate industry, $9 billion was the money which came from outside India, which was double of what was there in 2023. And 25 to 30% of that came from the US. So I would say India, and I would agree with you, Sumant, India would be the second or the third largest investment attractive destination. We've done a future of work survey, which actually 2 points which you covered. I just wanted to quickly talk about that. So one was artificial intelligence. 95% of the Indian CEOs have said that artificial intelligence is going to play a big role in changing their operations. So investment in that talent and skill set, I think, as a country, we should do more. And yes, we have 1 million graduates every month, but how many of them are qualified on the artificial intelligence piece? Second was climate. I couldn't agree more. I mean, our cities cannot survive with this kind of AQIs. And I know the construction industry is also adding a lot to the pollution, but we need to develop our infrastructure, so we have to do a balance there. But again, in the survey, it showed that 85% said that they would pay more for sustainable buildings. And we're doing a lot of work to help retrofit and make old buildings more sustainable and climate friendly.
Thank you very much, Radha. Fadnavis ji, there are 4 or 5 broad themes. I'll take the first theme that Amitabh spoke about, the fact that while welfare is very, very important, there are 400 million people in India who need help. But the concern that, revenue, where will state and central governments get revenue? And the GST Council, which is now a state federal body, is not reducing GST on health insurance premiums. But there is so much money being given because of elections. How do you reconcile this?
No, I think it's an area of concern. I mean, we have to help the poor people, and we are a welfare state. Having said that, right now the biggest problem is the competition between the states to do more welfare schemes. And I think one way this one nation, one election can solve the problem, because, around the year we have election in one state and other state, and the competition starts that will give this, they will give that. So that's an area of concern. I think we although our constitution allows us to do all the welfare and sometimes without fiscal prudence, but I think we need to agree on something where we actually stick to the fiscal prudence, and we actually enact the laws whereby how much welfare can we do should be there should be a limit.
Won't you face a political backlash for that?
No, if there is a law, there will be no political backlash. Today there is no law. So if he is giving 2 rupees, I'll give 3 rupees. That is the problem.
The point that the Chief Minister is making, that there is a FRBM, but he's speaking about far
You
more.
see, FRBM is a very good act, but so far as FRBM is concerned, we can actually, make a long-term strategy, and we can change the denominators. We can change. So if today I have to keep my fiscal deficit at, let's say, 3%, and if I cannot keep, so I can just amend it and I can say that this year it is 4%, it's not 3%. And then I can go for it. So it has to be, very strictly.
That's a very good point. You are calling for a strict sort of fiscal expenditure prudence framework. There were two other points. I'll take the point that Mr. Goenka made about logistics. We have so much export potential, but even today, despite electronic tolling, despite such beautiful highways, you get stuck for hours. Mumbai, and now you have sort of done away with tolls. Why doesn't this get solved? Is it a willpower issue? Is it a funding issue? Or is it the structure of our governance and decision making?
That's not the issue. I think we are, right now at the age of solving the problem, because you see, we understand that if India has to become a 5 trillion economy, or state like Maharashtra has to be 1 trillion economy, then speed of travel and speed of data are the two denominators which will actually, matter the most. And so far as speed of travel is concerned, not just the highways, but I think right now, if you look at the JNPT port, the capacity at the JNPT port, although it is enhanced, but still turnaround time is more, because we have to create more ports. Right now we have decided, and I must thank Honorable Prime Minister that he has announced, and we have already started the work of constructing the Vadhavan port. This Vadhavan port will be 3 times bigger than JNPT port. Today, JNPT port is handling around 60% of our container traffic. But once Vadhavan port is there, which has for 10 kilometers, 20-meter deep draft, it will be one of the biggest port. It can host the biggest ship in that port. So I think, the port connectivity, the port-led development are some issues where in last 10 years we have worked. So Mr. Goenka is absolutely right that although today the cost of logistics is high, but if you look at it 5 years back, it was still higher. So it is coming down, but we need to work more. And I think especially the port connectivity is an issue where, a lot of connectivity issues we have to handle. And also, I think in some states I've seen that after GST, states are trying to control in some other way the seamless traffic of goods, which is not contemplated in the GST. So we have to do away with that, because I think 1 or 2 hours wasted also counts. It finally ends up into spending more money. So I think from Maharashtra's perspective, we are trying to develop seamless connectivities to not just ports but also to all our logistics hub. We have come out with a new logistics policy. We are actually building dry ports, and we are trying to develop the highways which are access control highways. You can see that one Samruddhi highway, what it has changed for 15 districts, and if we talk about the last district, then the travel time for goods was 8 days to JNPT port. Now it is 12 hours for JNPT port. That is the difference. That's what we are doing. So I think things are changing, but I totally agree with Mr. Goenka that we have to do it at a faster pace.
There were two other comments which are broadly in the bucket of climate and our cities. Before I take that, I want to follow up on the GST point. Why is the GST Council not giving a service tax break to everybody who has health insurance? Har saal, bar, it's very unfair. Give welfare, but also give something to the middle class, to those who have insurance. And India, by the way, has the lowest penetration, amongst the lowest insurance penetrations of any major fast-growing economy, sir.
So our Prime Minister has, created a mechanism in the GST Council which is too democratic. It's a federal council where every single voice counts. So even if the smallest, let's say, state of India, let's say Goa, for example, which is just a 15 lakh population, even if the finance minister from Goa takes an objection, then it is deferred and a consensus is made on
What
that.
is your voice? What is your view on this?
No, I think we should think about that because it's a popular demand, and politicians should look more at the popular demands.
Politicians should look at more at popular demands. Income tax is not a subject that I can ask you here. Okay, the climate point, and this is the most important point. Our cities are unlivable. It is impossible. Young people cannot work in large metropolises because, whatever they get as a starting salary, their parents have to support them. It is difficult for everyone. Only the richest and most privileged can create their own enclaves, premium 100 crore houses. But for the rest of India, it is becoming very difficult. Why is it so?
I don't think so. It's not that bad. In fact, I would say that today, in our cities, a lot of climate investment is going on. Let's say a city like Mumbai, where, we have started the work of STPs. It's around, we are spending 25,000 crores so that, every single drop of water which goes into sea is of the standard. Today, all the sewage water is going into the sea and our sea is stinking. Again, in solid waste, I think the new technologies have come. We are promoting circular economy as well. So on that front, we are doing more. We are actually in a transition stage where we are transforming our entire public transport into green. So a lot of EV buses and the metros, they are actually helping us to fight with the pollution. And having said that, I think, as rightly said by Radha, the construction industry, not just construction by the private builders, but also by the government. The city like Mumbai is rebuilding. It's reinventing itself. So, at least for next 5 years, this building work will go on. And we would like to have certain solutions whereby how can we bring down the pollution while building the city.
I think our deputy national bird could soon become the crane. But what I'll do, we have 15 minutes. I want to go across the panel, starting with you, Radha. A question to the Chief Minister directly and for him to answer. Go ahead. You want to start with the question?
Okay, so just on the last point you mentioned about spending on sustainability, and you're absolutely right. We've seen that developers have started spending a lot on sustainability and technology when they are building buildings ground up. As the Chief Minister, in Maharashtra, there are a lot of still old buildings which are not sustainable. How would you view in terms of keeping aside some investment to help retrofit or make these buildings as well sustainable? And just relating to that, the whole EV point. I know Tata Power came out with those EV points, etc. So is that something which we would see more of and promote EV cars in the city?
So on your first point, you are mostly talking about the heritage buildings because you cannot redevelop them and the owners now are not able to maintain them. So we have a policy around that. Although the policy is new, but we feel that the state needs to do something to conserve these buildings, and you require conservation architects to do that. So it's a very specialized job. But we have a policy and we will be doing that. The second point is about charging infrastructure you're talking about, and that we are going to create more, because I think now that even our state transport has placed an order for 5,000 EV buses, and Mumbai Municipal Corporation, they have also placed an order for 5,000 EV buses. I think we require the charging infrastructure everywhere. We have made the policy. We have started putting up the charging infrastructure now.
Sir, I would say that I would ask only one question. Today, for a growth, there are three important things, which all of three things, as the state of Maharashtra, I can personally vouch for it. Personally, I'm witnessing, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is AI, whether it is, sustainability, green. All, there is a clear-cut policy, there is a clear-cut view. But my question to you, sir, is that what is your view on the governance? Because that is one of the very important area which is a big concern and can create big confidence, and can this multiply the speed of the whole the growth what you want to have it?
I totally agree with you, Mr. Goenka. Governance is the key. Normally bureaucracy is the same, but how you govern, it transforms. Like in last 10 years, Prime Minister Modi has transformed the country using the same machinery, because it is all about governance. It is all about transparency. It is all about efficiency. If you have a transparent approach, I think things fall in place. And since I've been the chief minister for 5 years and now I'm again the chief minister, I feel that governance is the only thing which can drive your growth.
Fadnavis ji, Maharashtra obviously is the biggest state in the country from an economic standpoint, and therefore the position that it takes on the policies on the green energy side will determine how the rest of the country goes. And as we all know, Honorable Prime Minister has set a very big target. Now, within that, do you think it makes sense at some point for Maharashtra to come out with its own very specific clean energy policy, clean energy targets, encompassing wind, solar, batteries, as well as green hydrogen, which are all now emerging as new areas? And within that, sir, Maharashtra is also a big agricultural state. So issues about land are always going to be there. So from a governance standpoint, how do you deal with these kinds of issues which will keep coming up, and they are coming up as we all know?
So it's a very good question. So far as green energy is concerned, we already have our policy. We were first to have green hydrogen policy, and I must tell you that we are the first state which has invested most in distributed solar. So we are having many solar parks which are distributed in nature, so that the transmission is not a headache. I must tell you, one figure that until 2023, our mix of clean energy into our entire energy portfolio was 13%. By 2030, it will be 52%. So we are heavily investing on that. We are going green. We were the first state who has actually created a separate distribution company for agriculture. We actually provide 16 gigawatt of power to agriculture. By end of 2026, every unit of power which is supplied to agriculture will be green. It will be solar. So we are using pump storage system and all sort of energy mix we are actually using. So I think Maharashtra will be in line with Honorable Prime Minister's benchmarks and standards, and we will be doing more on energy issue. What was the second point? Just forgot.
Sir, it was about the fact that there could be land issues and so on.
Yeah, I totally agree. So now we have already digitized our land records, and now we are trying to put them in a blockchain. Because I think the blockchain is something where today I always say that most of our revenue system, or the collectors we train, or the SDOs, their half of time is hearing the land issues. So if we put all the records in blockchain, at least only legacy issues will remain, and the further issues will not happen. So we have already started keeping all our records in blockchain, and we have certain portals where every single land is marked. So right now, if you have to know the status of any land, you just have to go to the portal, and the portal tells you that this is the land, he is the owner, and this is the user.
So, obviously, when I hear you speak, the government is doing a lot of work. I actually don't have a question, I have a request. Maharashtra government, for example, is doing work across all dimensions of business and economy. I think all of us come to know about it also. So, for example, Sumant might know a lot about what you're doing in the renewable energy side. He might know a lot what you're doing on the textile side. But I think if the engagement with industry can happen more, for example, just this port, which we read about in the papers, and I think you talked extensively about it, we as private or entrepreneurs or people who can invest there do not know what role we can play. And I think if in some of the key 15, 20 big agenda items you have, if the government can engage actively, continuously, I think the whole ecosystem that can be created will be much more powerful than, because, everyone is just doing a small thing. I think a lot of more people come together. I think something better, bigger can be created. So I would just request you if you can, push the governance side and engage more. I think you'll get more out because they can invest and co-invest at the right time in the right way. I think we only get to know about it over a period of time. Like, I frankly did not know so much of investment in the digital records, all that has happened, and obviously get that mind going in terms of, okay, what more we can do to support the economy.
So I totally agree with you, and I think it's a great suggestion. In fact, we initially created our Economic Advisory Council, and 20 top CEOs from different sphere of businesses were part of Economic Advisory Council. That council has given us a report, and our own version of Niti Aayog, which is Mitra, is actually following up on that. And through Mitra, we are engaging more with the businesses and industries so that, we get their perspective, and while implementing the report, they are the real stakeholders. So we are doing that. But I think we'll find out some more, ways to engage with the businesses and industries.
Sir, I had this question which has been on the top of my mind. We have been talking about inclusive growth. And in some ways, one of the biggest challenges to achieve our aspirations seems to be skilling and continuous reskilling of our people. And even, including our global capability centers, which India is so proud of hosting more than 50% of them. I think they are now starting to feel, that they need to reinvent the skill sets in their people. And again, at the blue collar level, we have a bunch of CEOs, including L&T, and I've heard Mr. Goenka as well talk about lack of skilled manpower. What can we do there, sir? Because it gives us the inclusive growth that we so dearly need.
I think we have been working on skills for the last 10 years, but still there is a huge skill gap. And the way job market is changing, I think we need to have very dynamic policies. In Maharashtra, we have created a skill university. There is one more Symbiosis Skill University. Both the universities are doing good. They are actually taking assessment of the job market, and they are trying to create the courses whereby we have a good human resource. Now we have our 500 ITIs, which are very basic skill giving institutions. We have decided that now we'll introduce AI in our 500 ITIs, because for every single job, AI is going to change, how the job used to be. So we have already started that. We are going for Innovation City. Maharashtra is a startup hub of India. Now, I'm very happy to share that in this year's Startup India report, Maharashtra has fared number one. In terms of number of startup, it was always number one, but now in terms of, actual values, it is number one. So the Maharashtra has become the startup capital, and now the startups are also coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. So I think the entire space is changed by innovation and artificial intelligence. Now we are focusing more on creating startups which are based on artificial intelligence. So I think in every sphere we require a lot of skills to be given. And we have assessed the skill gap. We are trying to do more, but I think now is a time where we involve the private sector more into bridging this skill gap, and that is our strategy now.
We have Sanjeev, you had to follow. We have just time for a couple of questions, and I want to follow up on the AI one, Fadnavis ji. When the internet came, it was a platform shift. The world of business and how consumers use technology changed. AI is also the same thing. At Davos here, the broader theme is an intelligent age. But there is a fear that while AI tools will augment how businesses run, they might also end up reducing the need for manpower. As a politician, as someone who has to take care of that as one of the biggest responsibilities, how do you see AI and its impact on the workforce?
I think it will change the job market. You see, when the computers came, the same argument was put forth by many of our fellow politicians that now since computers have come, they will take away the jobs and we don't require computers. You see, technology is like a horse. You have to ride the horse. So you cannot shy away with the technology. It has come. It will change. I was reading a few years back one report where it said that there's a possibility that globally, due to artificial intelligence, 22 crore jobs will be lost. But at the same time, 25 crore new jobs will be created. So AI has the power to create new jobs as well. So I think if we leverage, the technology to create more efficiency also creates job. Now, so many jobs are being created in the green sphere. So green investments are creating most jobs. There was a time when, the municipal waste was real waste. But today, it is not only creating wealth, but it is creating huge job opportunities in the service sector. So I think with the technology, the efficiency is increasing. At the same time, they are creating new type of jobs.
So Siddharth, if I can add, actually the CEO survey actually talks about it, that, the jobs will go up. So the fear that we have that AI will take away jobs is not coming through in the survey. It possibly will allow us to do everything more efficiently, and it possibly will create more time for each one of us to focus on maybe the less grunt work and do more value accretive work. And hopefully that will increase productivity over a period of time. So I completely agree with what Sir said.
Sorry, may I just add one point? Actually, I believe two things. One, AI will actually augment the skills of existing people. We've been talking about upskilling people. It'll actually help augment the skills. And second, the point that Fadnavis ji made. So GPT 4.0 development actually happened at the Microsoft campus in Hyderabad. So we were talking about the global capability centers. So it will create different kind of jobs. Exactly the point Fadnavis ji was making.
I think, frankly, GCCs are one of the finest examples of Make in India. And
Office of the world. We are Office of the world.
Office of the world. One point that I wanted to take, because this is Davos and there are 5 or 6 states competing, and you spoke about competitive federalism. You faced in the past charges that projects have been lost from Maharashtra. They have gone to Gujarat, to other states. In your new stint as Chief Minister, what are you going to ensure that Maharashtra's economy and industrial development remains very vibrant?
First of all, I must tell you that it's not a fact that projects are going elsewhere. There are 10 states competing, and projects will go to some states. So it's not just Maharashtra which will take all the projects. Having said that, I must tell you one number, that Maharashtra accounts for 35% of the FDI that comes to India. And in last 6 months, it is 40% of the entire FDI that came to India came to Maharashtra. So it has become FDI destination. It is, as I've already told you, it's a startup capital. And on all sectors right now, I'm experiencing that huge investments are coming in all sectors. So state like Maharashtra, it actually it is always on autopilot mode. The only thing which we have to do is to give good governance. I mean, if we give good governance, nothing can stop state like Maharashtra.
That's a very good point to end this conversation on. But since you have been at the receiving end of questions from all of us here, I want you to either ask one broad sort of point or a question to all the industry captains and those who will watch us. What does industry need to do to work much better and closely with state governments and the central government to ensure that India becomes Viksit Bharat?
The only thing is that from our point of view, we are trying to come on your side. So I think, how can we create an atmosphere where the industry and the government are on same side? They are not on different sides. They are not on different sides of table. That is one thing where I think we need to work more. And I would like their comments on this. What are their expectations?
Quick comments, please.
Look, I think, our sector works very closely with the government, both at the central level and at the state level. And, I've been actually very surprised at how cooperative the whole engagement is and collaborative it is with the government. At least that's been my experience in our sector. And to me, it's like one single team. It's Team India that is working together to solve all the problems and make things happen. I do agree with you that sometimes, not at the state level, not at the central level, sometimes at lower government levels. That's where some of the issues arise, and those are things that we all have to continue to work with each other and solve the problems. Our job is to bring it up to you and to let you know that there are all these issues, and these are potential solutions, because it's our job to also suggest some solutions, as any CEO will tell you. And so that's our job, and we will continue to do that, and hopefully that will allow us to then take the country forward much faster.
First of all, I would like to congratulate you, sir. I mean, I've seen the way you spoke about sustainability and the digital world, and it's a really music to hear. When you talk about blockchain, we have been talking about, in our corporate world, and we are talking about in the government, and that's also, which is having so much of legacy. And I think the only point which I would say that I have seen personally about overall development view of yours and the way you are taking the decisions. The only thing, as I asked earlier also, is the governance which needs to be further strengthened to give that kind of confidence to the industry. I think that will make a big difference. We have everything we have a huge, the great leadership in you, sir, and I have seen it personally. And I think if that can be put it into the right course, I think Maharashtra, undoubtedly, the $1 trillion of your dream is not far away.
So I would only say that one request that I can make is that if the government and the bureaucracy and when you talk about improved governance does see us as being on the same side. I know all of us are focused on shareholder returns also, but all of us also realize that you have an agenda, you have something which you have to deliver. We appreciate that. And I think if they start believing that, we can be on the same side, I think that change in belief, because I think most of the times we think that a lot of time is going and seeing that how things can't be misused. And so the focus is on that. I think we have some work to do. I'm not saying we are all, perfect, but I think that level of trust, if that can be built and you can drive that, ensuring that, no, I would like to trust them. If they make a mistake, then we'll go after them. I think that change is important. Otherwise, if you look at the eyes of mistrust or keep putting in policies just to ensure something wrong does not happen, then, we are just lost in the rules and something of that nature.
So I think everyone's covered most of the points, but just coming back to your dream of the 1 trillion economy in Maharashtra, I remember when you were the chief minister earlier, and I had the opportunity and privilege of accompanying you to Hanover, and you made a presentation and you talked about how your dream was to create a single window clearance and how you'd brought down to just 15 or 12 points. And I remember that presentation resonated with so many people. So I'm confident that in this term, Maharashtra will get to your dream.
Absolutely.
We all
Well,
live
I
in
can
Maharashtra.
only say that, trust and growth, Amitabh actually spoke about it already. Trust and growth are, two sides of the same coin. You cannot create any growth without that growth being trusted. And, if you're not trusted, no growth is going to be possible. So I think, I must say, that, Fadnavis sir, you have actually, the way you responded to many of the questions that came your way, I think it'll generate a lot of trust and it'll generate a lot of confidence and it'll encourage all of us to be part of this journey, of Maharashtra being a 1 trillion economy and hopefully India being the 5 trillion economy that it aspires to be.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
With that, it's a wrap on this very special panel discussion that we had around the findings of the annual CEO survey by PwC and what corporate captains have to say. A very, very interactive discussion. And the last takeaway, at least for me, perhaps the most important point, viewers, the center has changed course. States like Maharashtra and so many others are doing a lot of work to woo investment. But it's perhaps lower levels of governance where a lot of work is still required for better alignment to ensure that India becomes Viksit Bharat. I thank my entire panel for their time here with us and you, the viewer. We'll be back. Until then, goodbye.